And welcome to Meet the Polymaker. I am your host, Joel, for the evening and all the previous evenings and the future evenings to come, etc., etc. Welcome in everybody to the show. If you haven't already, a lot of you get that in there before the stream even starts. Type in "I am awesome" into chat. That is on the Twitch side. I've been talking. I am looking to do, I think it's Streamlabs or Stream Elements. Has some ability for giveaway that I hope to move to so we can get back to the YouTube side of things also. But if you type in "I am awesome" in the Twitch chat, you do receive an entry into a chance to win a spool of filament at the end of the show. That is international. Doesn't matter where you're at. You can win. So go ahead and enter now. You'll have a chance at the end of the show to also enter. But if you're new here, always like to introduce that we are a fun, just a variety show. We do some 3D printing news. We share some prints from our community in our Discord. And then ultimately we meet a new maker every single week. Whether it be somebody doing a project, somebody part of an organization, somebody part of a big event that might be coming up soon. Yeah, you never know. We get them across the board. So we'll meet them here shortly. But before that, let's talk hot into headlines. And first up, we're going to talk about 3D printed ferries for the U.S. waterway. Doing the research on this, very little research, because, I put a whole lot of effort in it. I do put effort into it, but the U.S. actually has lags behind all other countries in waterway passaging. Of course, we have congested roads. There's no reason we can't use the millions of rivers that we have throughout the U.S. and the different waterways. And while we do have ferries here and there, it's not as widely used as what it is in other countries, such as Europe. They I think, use some of the highest, Europe and Asia. But right now they're looking to actually, of course, 3D print boats, which we've seen that before. It's nothing new there. But it's getting more traction because right now there's $2.3 billion allocated for ferry programs under the federal infrastructure plan. So there's money being invested in it on the federal level, which is awesome. Just more accepting of 3D printing in the environment throughout to improve, make things more efficient. That's what we're hoping to do. But big potential in the Midwest. 3D printed ferries could ease road congestion. Like I said, using all the lakes and the roads lakes and the rivers that you're used to. Somebody get that reference. But it's getting global inspiration from Amsterdam's rowboat, which showed success in 3D printed autonomous ferries. So we're going to see more and more, and we're going to start seeing in the US now. Next up, we're going to talk Bamboo Lab. Of course, everybody's seen it. H2D. It was leaked, whatever, and then now they have their official announcement, which they're doing staggered day by day. I think there's some are back to back, some are skip a day, but they're releasing kind of teaser images each day, showing more features to just get more of that hype going. There's been a bigger leak. I won't talk too much of it on Reddit of all the information. Some of the stuff that we knew was there is there. Some more extra stuff. So it does some stuff. I'll let you guys do your research. I'm not going to out the information. It's out there for the internet. If you guys are watching this show, you're privy to what's out there and how to find it. But they are, they have released that they are going to be releasing it. It's going to be March 25th. And I don't know this for sure. I think I heard that they might have you can purchase it on March 25th, a limited supply. Price wise, no one knows. It's all speculation. Will it be shipping from China, or is it already in the US to where it'll ship to US? None of the details are there. Hopefully in the next few days we'll find out. But by the 25th, we'll have all the information that we've been waiting for. And will it live up to the hype? We shall see. And next up, we have nature-inspired 3D printing method. So we've seen 3D printing across the board in everything from space exploration to underwater exploration to medical to homing or housing. But this is using resin to do a different type. It's still a resin printing, but it's a different method. It's actually using, let me flip through because I didn't get a whole lot of information on this. It's a way faster solidification than just your typical photopolymer resin. It initiates at 70 degrees Celsius with heat spreading at 1 millimeter per second, over 100 times faster than your typical desktop 3D printers. And the thing with this is they can do the shapes. They basically put, there's not a picture here, there's one on the article, a probe inside the resin, and they can manipulate it and go into different shapes and curves to mimic nature. As they said, is you can print a block or a cube. With this method you can't, because you don't see it in nature. It takes a natural form of printing. To get more into it, it utilizes minimal energy through frontal ring opening metathesis polymerization, also known as FROMP, to harden resin into a solid form. But like I said, it allows that dynamic shaping and allows real-time manipulation of solidifying that object to get all sorts of different shapes and different organic shapes that you can't get necessarily right off the rip from an STL. Kind of a natural printing. And then next up, we're going to talk resin to FDM conversion. This is going to go hand in hand with what we're going to talk about with our maker today. But miniatures, we've seen them printed today. They're ideally printed in resin for that detail with such a small size and to have that strength. We've shown you can print miniatures with our Polymax, and that keeps them from being brittle. They can also be printed in PLA Pro. I mean, a lot of materials. And you can get some pretty good details, but what's awesome about this is a man by the name of Jacob of Painted for Combat has designed a Blender add-on that actually adapts resin printer models for FDM printers. So it's, of course, as you see in the picture, it's going to create some of those supports that you normally see in resin, but it's going to adapt it for FDM printing to ideally ease the printing of FDM, FDM printing of miniatures without having to break things apart and dig into the supports, and making it an easier thing, a better conversion. I haven't used it myself, but there are 2 versions offered, a free light version and an advanced version with additional features available through the Patreon. So again, if you look up Jacob or Painted for Combat, you'll find some more information there. And just cool to see more and more technology go through that is helping enhance our printing. And last up, we're going to talk about Bentley, because why not? All of us here own a Bentley, I'm sure, right? Everybody here own a Bentley? But it's just showing that exotic cars, no matter how cheap, how mid-range or expensive a car can be, 3D printing is being adapted across the board. We've talked about it in race cars. We've talked about it in other exotic cars. But this is for the rose gold interior pieces are being metal printed for the Bentley, which I think they called it the Bentley, the Black Rose. It's one of only 18 bespoke Batur models crafted by Bentley's Mulliner division. That was a mouthful, but like I said, all their 3D printed rose gold accents features up to 210 grams of 18 karat rose gold components, all as you see in here through the knobs, through the shift knobs, through the main navigation knob. But the rose gold used is sourced from 100% recycled jewelry. So of course it's sustainable luxury practices as they called it. So giving back to the environment, good old Bentley there. But it is a cool collaboration between Bentley and Cook's Own Gold, a Birmingham-based jewelry supplier. So again, it's cool to see the 3D printing in so many different ways, and now we're 3D printing rose gold from recycled jewelry. So who knows what's next? And then one last thing, I don't have a slide for this because this is breaking news. This just in. We have a community member, Layer by Layer. For those that are making maker chips or wanting to make their own maker chips for coming events, I'm going to link here. He has made a maker chip maker. So I don't know much about it because, again, right pretty much before the show, I got this link. Go check it out. It's supposed to make making your maker chip a lot easier. That way you don't have to go through all the steps and merge things inside Bamboo Studio and have issues, problems, and have to nag K2 Kevin for issues. So I haven't used it myself. It just got linked to me. But Layer by Layer is a pretty smart guy, and if he's linking it to me, I'll imagine it works pretty well. So feel free to check it out yourself. And we're going to move on to Spool to Spotlight. And first up, we're going to see a print done by CGS Creations. This is the Chibi Butterflies, modeled by Build-Over-Bot, available on Things. And this is done in not glow-in-the-dark, but are neons. So, of course, they are UV reactive. There are multiple pictures of natural light and the UV. The UV, of course, makes these things pop. So, had to share this one. And also, no, I always forget to say in the beginning, these are all shared on our Show Off Prints channel at discord.polymaker.com. If you're not part of that community, feel free to join. It's an awesome crowd, and we share fun things. We share failures. We share it all. So next up, we got a food item. I've seen this. I'm like, this is just, it matches up with the Lunchables earrings that we showed off last week. This is a print by Cheryl. The design, the pastry magnets by Gazoladra. I don't know. It's available on Things, and if you search that name or pastry magnets, you're going to get the pretzels, the croissant, and I think it's just a dinner roll. So just an awesome print, and they look pretty much like food. Next up, we have a print shared by Silverback, and this is Modeled by Silverback, or on the socials, he goes by Silverback Creations, at least on the modeling parts. And it is Michael, and Michael Bookmark. I think bookmark's supposed to be one word. I might have messed that up, but it is a HueForge bookmark and just an awesome thing. I've seen some awesome Michael creations he's done with HueForge. So cool to see this bookmark. So if you are a reader, then perfect bookmark to print. They're so easy and they don't take any special printer. You can print this with anything right now, almost anything. Next up, we have a print by E1 Moran, and also modeled by E1 Moran, available on printables. It is the Neuralizer from Men in Black. As you're going to see in the video, you're going to forget everything about now. So I thought it was just really cool. I love seeing the props, especially ones that move, motion, have lights. So if you want to download this yourself, it's on printables. Just look up E1 Moran or Neuralizer or both, and you'll find that print. And last but not least, we have Mike Moans, printed out the Tower of Bones by Mercedes Miniatures, I believe. And just an awesome print. This is done on his P1P, so it's in PLA. Of course, he's painted it, so it's got an awesome finish. This, again, is just an example that you can print the miniatures, which this I don't think necessarily is miniature. It's more of a terrain piece, but an awesome print, an awesome finish, and just and the photo looks great. So, I mean, everything just went together well. So that is it for our prints. Thank you everyone who shared your prints. Continue to share them over on Show Off Prints. You never know when you might show up on the show. It's not always all awesome prints. It's also the failures. It's the fun ones. It's the goofy pictures. So share whatever you want, whatever you like, and we'll likely feature it on the show at some point. But we're going to take a break for commercials. And when we get back here, we're going to talk to our next maker who might know a little thing about miniatures and terrain. So we'll see you here in just a few. Come on down to Polymaker's Palace of Printing Perfection, where we have everything your 3D printing heart desires. We have PLA, we have ABS, let's not forget ASA, maybe PETG is your material of choice. We got that too. Don't forget nylons for those specific needs. Printing something special for that loved one in your life? We have all the colors to make that print a one of a kind. You want reds? We got them. How about blues? We got those too. And greens? Of course we do. Too many to count. And let's not forget the yellows. All day long. Now don't take my word for it. Come on down and see for yourself. Here at Polymaker's Palace of Printing Perfection, we strive to fulfill all your printing needs. So come on down and start your collection today. We're easy to find right past the giant light box on Hangout Avenue at us.polymaker.com.
Are you into cosplay and prop making? Are you tired of having to break out those power tools to sand those lines away? And don't forget about all that hand sanding. Cramps. Ouch. Introducing Polymaker's Cos PLA, available in two different versions, version A and version B. Both versions are still easier to stand than standard PLA. Find out more at us.polymaker.com.
Whoa, I'd love to get into 3D printing, but I live here on the sun where the UV rays are nuts.
Wait just one moment there, strappy young chap. Have you ever heard of Polymaker ASA? Polymaker ASA is UV resistant, so it is the perfect application for printing near or around the sun.
No way, bro.
Yes way, brosif. Here, try it out.
Radical, man.
If you need a weather-resistant material, make sure you check out Polymaker's ASA.
Printing on the sun is no problem at all with Polymaker ASA.
And welcome back to the show. We are here as we are every single week for 55-ish weeks in a row to meet our next maker. And as I hinted, this gentleman might know a little bit of things about some miniatures and terrain and all sorts of stuff. And we're going to find out more about that in an event that he is involved with. So please welcome in Hank of Adepticon. How's it going, Hank?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, then thanks for coming. I figure better time than now than later, since this Adepticon event I'm talking about, which we'll get to here, is coming up next week, right?
Correct. Yeah. No, we're in crunch time for sure.
I was saying, and I'm taking probably a very precious hour out of your time that could be getting a lot of things done. So we'll try not to hold you up too long. But for those that don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself and just let us know a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So, my name is Hank Edley. I am one of the founders, board of directors of Adepticon. Adepticon's a tabletop miniature wargaming convention. We started it back in 2003 with about 80 attendees, and this year we're going to be in Milwaukee. We had previously been in Chicago, and we just closed registration down a couple weeks ago at over 8,000 attendees. So it's grown quite a bit over 20 plus years, and it's the largest tabletop miniature wargaming convention in the world.
That is awesome, especially for that long. And then now for somebody that's not into tabletop gaming, they may have never heard of that. I've known tabletop gaming. I've had friends that played it. Can you explain a little bit what exactly? Because of course there's Monopoly and all that, but we're not talking Monopoly. We're talking like Warhammer, and I think there's Star Wars Legions, I think it's called.
Yeah, so we have over 1,300 events that we're putting on the weekends from a session perspective across. Warhammer 40K is probably the most prevalent tabletop miniature game that most people have probably heard of or know of. Yep. But everything from Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, historical stuff. We have a number of companies, over 140 vendors that come in that are putting on games, tournaments, but also demos and narrative type games. Not everything's a competitive event, and it's all done with tabletop miniatures. Board game game sizes typically are a little different. Some are on 4x6 table surfaces. Some are played as little as 3x3. Yeah.
So now, how does the tabletop gaming, like Warhammer and all the other ones, how does that differ from, say, D&D? Are they kind of related, or are they linked at all, or is it a completely different setup?
I mean, it's completely, mostly different, right? I mean, with D&D, you can have miniatures, and you can have combat simulations with miniatures and maps and terrain on the board, and as you're working your way through a dungeon or a town. With tabletop miniature wargaming, you're usually playing against an opponent. You have your forces, whatever system you're doing, whatever scale you're doing, and then you're moving with tape measures or by a grid, and then you're rolling dice for various abilities, whether it's combat or magic, shooting, morale checks, all that kind of stuff. And it's a back and forth typically with your opponent, so it's an interactive sort of game.
Now on those with, of course, you have to kind of 1v1. Do they also have setups? And I'm sure every game differs, where you can have like kind of teams, so like you and 3 friends can go up against another group of 4 and all have your different armies and all that.
No, that's a great question. Adepticon is known for what's called our team tournament formats, where typically what you have is either a 2-man or a 4-man team where you get together with your friends. You kind of work all year long with the hobby, and building your armies, creating your displays, working on your theme. Some of our teams just go crazy building very elaborate displays that involve a lot of 3D printing, LED lighting, smoke, you name it, power, animatronics. I've seen it all over the years. and culminates in ultimately what's called our Adepticon Army Showcase, whereas the best stuff that is identified in the events that we have is given an invite to the showcase where they can set up, and then the entire attendance can see it.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And do they have? Do you have any type of like panels set up like that? Is that, do you bring them out to talk about it, or is it just more of just allows them to display it in front of everybody?
Yeah, no, it's kind of like old school high school science fair stuff where the teams standing by their project or their army, and we have some celebrity judges that come through that are well known in the industry, and they're all judged, and then ultimately there's a kind of a best of show and some other awards that we give out. It's a pretty hotly contested event, but you just see some amazing stuff. Yeah.
So now, with it being going on so long, is when did you start seeing, or well, I guess not start seeing, when did you start using 3D printing to start creating the terrains and everything? Like I said, I'm sure it's been going longer than 3D printing has really been a focal on the consumer side, but do you know when you started 3D printing, or what actually got you interested in doing that?
Well, I mean, one, we like to put on, we provide, while vendors provide some terrain for their own events, we provide a massive amount of terrain on tables. We have 5 semi trucks loaded full of stuff that we're bringing to the show just in this week, right? And the volume of 3D printing and terrain that we produce has just continued to accelerate as the show's grown, and as I think we keep trying to take things to the next level. Like we originally were building stuff, out of hot foam, pink foam and casting.
Oh, and doing like sculpting and everything else, carving it and everything else.
We'd go to the Lowe's or Home Depot and grab some PVC vinyl duct work and cast stuff and resin to attach to it, and really scratch building stuff, and that was very time consuming.
Oh, I bet.
And then we sort of graduated. I purchased a couple lasers, and so we kind of graduated designing some MDF terrain, creating our own MDF kits to do that. But MDF has its limitations, and really, I mean, 3D printing. I bought some of my first 3D printers were kits that I had to assemble. Kind of been through, the path, the
gauntlet of it all.
different manufacturers of 3D printers, and I've had probably well over 40. And ultimately, we're looking for things that a method and a means of production that would meet our demand. And obviously, we do some resin stuff, but really for terrain and the size and scale of terrain operation, we printed over 1,500 terrain pieces and painted them this year. Right. So
that's a big thing too. Not just printed, but also painted. You shared me a picture of the long workshop of just terrain after terrain after terrain. And it's insane. Yeah.
I've shared a ton of photos over the year in the, I think the tabletop section of your Discord, so if people want to go check out some of the work that we've done, I bring in some of the best talent in the industry. I'm very fortunate to have some of the best hobbyists. We were, in addition to doing the tabletop miniature stuff at Adepticon, we run really a schedule of hobby seminar classes, and we invite hobby instructors from all over the world to come in and teach classes on various techniques on how to paint, how to sculpt. We even have some people there that teach 3D sculpting and design. We've had people do 3D printing.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah. And, I think we have something like 264 hobby seminar classes going on with, anywhere from 16 to 24 students in the class. And so
and that's throughout the whole 5 days, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I recruit from that pool of people, the talent that's there to come in. We call it the Adepticon train team and spray team. And, I prep all the train, get it all printed, get it all primed, and then bring them in, and we get 16, 18 people with airbrushes and various people doing detail work just to really turn it out. Yeah.
So now with all the terrain that you do print, is that just like an internal farm that you have, or is it a handful of people that do it, or how do you manage all the printing?
Well, I mean, fortunately, I have 4 boys, and I have about a 12 printer print farm in my I have a very large 4-car garage that basically is a hobby. And then I farmed some stuff out to some of the Adepticon staff. So I have a few people that have 2 to 4 printers that get tasked to print jobs and produce stuff, because just doing it myself would be pretty time consuming.
Oh yeah. Now, of course, you've seen all the different printers, because starting printing kind of from the beginning of the build your own DIY stuff.
Yeah.
Are you like the majority of us, and have you migrated to the Bamboo Lab printers?
Yeah, I have. So I own, I have a number of X1Cs and a number of P1S Bamboo Lab machines at this point. Mainly just for reliability and speed.
No.
Yeah, because previously I had sort of transitioned to wanting to do all the terrain in resin, because I just kind of got fed up with trying to keep FDM
tweak and
machines.
test, and nothing was consistent.
Yeah, and in particular the speed, right? I mean, nothing that would upset me any more than having them running on a 36+ hour print and have it fail partway through. It was it really cut into our ability to produce terrain. And so the adoption of the Bamboo Labs printers is really
was an obvious step. Now, with
sure.
that speed increase, how far do you have to plan ahead to start getting things ready for the next Adepticon? Do you start as soon as this one ends on March 30th? Are you already producing, or do you just give yourself like a 6-month leeway?
I mean, there's stuff that we printed that we didn't get to this year that's scheduled.
Okay, that'll
slotted in for the next year. But then we have some ideas, for things that we want to print. We have some partners that produce STL designs that have, Kickstarters and products they're going to be releasing that they want to see us put on tables. And so we kind of keep
awesome.
with them to kind of know, like, hey, you're going to do a Toka station, which is kind of a Camino look and feel for a board. And we know that that's going to release. They'll typically give us the files early, so we kind of get a head start, so that when Adepticon rolls around, that their trains represented on our tables and that sort of stuff.
That's awesome. So you're helping the community of tabletop gamers and modelers to get their stuff out there even more so. And obviously with 8,000 registration, it's a pretty big crowd that gets to see this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I should also point out, right, we only badge people that are signed up to participate. So if you're going to play in something or participate in some aspect of Adepticon, we require a badge. But otherwise, if you're just wanting to come take a look around, shop in our vendor hall, maybe grab a hot dog or a slice of pizza from the concession stand and a beer or whatever, we don't charge people just to come in and look around. So while I say we have an attendance of roughly 8,000 pre-registered people for badges, there's a whole host of people that we really have no accounting for.
Oh yeah, those people bring in significant others or friends that may not play and everything else. I mean, you pretty much, I think I was talking with Shelly of that, you pretty much kind of sell out the hotels in that area.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I think we've done something like close to 3,000 hotel nights or something like that.
Yeah, so kind of a big deal. Now, is there things that you've seen progress each year that you're looking forward to, evolve even further, like different aspects of the event or certain things that you do with it? or is it kind of you kind of play it by ear each year?
Well, for the last probably decade, we've been in Schaumburg, and we've made this transition to Milwaukee. It's a 1.3 million square foot facility.
Large.
We pretty much have the whole thing. It's a big step. Venue transitions, for anybody that's ever been in. Anytime you change facilities and you change personnel, it's not like, tabletop miniature gaming is sort of a niche within a niche, and so these aren't typical sort of convention things that people have a lot of familiarity with.
Experience, yeah.
Right. So that first year is kind of it's like a first date. You got to kind of try to get to know one another, right? So, that's the challenge. Being in a downtown area versus out in a suburb. Lot of one of the things I guess I'm super interested to see is, there's a lot of opportunity within walking distance of this facility for our attendees to experience what downtown Milwaukee has to offer, and the food and the nightlife. And I got contacted by the Milwaukee Bucks to run a promotion from an NBA team.
That's awesome. Yeah. You've been around long enough. I think they know the name. Yeah, especially in that area.
So it's exciting for this new adventure to be in a new city, and Milwaukee has a rich gaming history because Gen Con used to be.
Okay, yeah.
Gen Con. Gen Con's
that's an indie now, I think.
Yeah, it's an indie. They left Milwaukee, I think, in 2003, right around 20,000 people, and now they're pushing 70, 80,000 people out of Indianapolis.
Jeez. And I'm sure you've seen growth every single year over year also, hence the reason of the move.
Yeah, we've grown double-digit growth every year. We took 2 years off, obviously, during COVID. We were impacted by that, but every year we've seen double-digit growth. I like to try to keep. I'm a big believer in sort of sustained growth. It's not great to grow too fast because you outgrow your capacity to serve that audience. So
and then your quality degrades, and what's the expectations are there that you can't fulfill.
Yeah, but Milwaukee, I think it's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to it. A little bit nervous.
I'm definitely happy to be able to get to experience myself. Like I said, not knowing much about it and learning just of how much history's in it and where it's at and just how large it is. It's I can't wait to walk in. I'll be there Thursday night, so I'll kind of come in because you say, of course, the vendors and exhibition type stuff is set up till 6, right, each night, but then the gameplay lasts whenever.
Yeah, a lot of our gaming halls technically close at midnight. We open about 7 a.m., run till midnight. There's a number of things there that run 24/7. If you're familiar with the miniature community, Games Workshop is hosting the Golden Demon at Adepticon, which is a world-renowned painting competition of miniatures for Games Workshop. There are a number of different painting competitions. There's a Worthy for Marvel stuff that Atomic Mass Games puts on, and there's a number of 3D printing vendors there. I think Loot Studios is going to be there. I know. Boy, the name's going to.
You have a lot that's in your mind right now of what's going on with that event, so it's understandable. Polymaker will be there, right?
And then there's Tabletop Train that's going to be there. Usually there's some of the main train manufacturers are going to be there. So it's
this year it's tiered, right? I think there's different floors because since that arena is so huge.
Yeah, the Baird Center in Milwaukee is they've just recently done a massive renovation of it, and they've expanded it. And so what used to be there and where Gen Con was held, that building still exists, but it's been completely refurbished, and then they've added on and expanded it. Probably, I would say, a third bigger than it was previously. It's actually two towers. There's a tower, there's a street that runs underneath of it, and so there's space on the main floor, second floor, and then the third floor is the exhibit hall, and there's a fourth floor. And if the weather's nice enough, there's a fantastic terrace out there that you can see stuff, and yeah, and I should also point out, right? We see a lot of cosplayers, that come out and turn out. I'm hoping to see some. There's a droids printing group that
the droid builders.
Yeah, droid builders. I'm hoping to see some of them show up. I have a lot of those droid plans on my bucket list to do, and it's really celebration of a lot of geek and nerd culture over the weekend.
Now, as an organizer with it for so long, do you ever even get a chance to experience it? I mean, other than in passing as you're doing, a chicken with its head cut off, or are you able to enjoy some of it now that you kind of build a team up?
Yeah, I mean, the first couple days or first 24 hours is pretty rough, but once things get rolling, it sort of starts to run itself, and then I don't have to really worry about it too much till Sunday. But there was a day when the show was a lot smaller that I got to see everything. We allowed our staff back then to participate. I even played a few, for a few years in events, but anymore, not really in the cards for me. That it's really putting on that show's really consumed most of my hobby time.
That's understandable. Yeah, as it gets larger and larger and more time. Now, of course, your foray into 3D printing was more, I guess I want to say, necessity, or using it as a tool. Do you find yourself 3D printing outside of the Adepticon stuff and the terrain stuff?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I mentioned I had 4 boys. They've all been through Boy Scouts and STEM and Lego robotics and all that kind of stuff. So, we've done a lot of 3D printing, whether it's been with Pinewood Derby racing or with the Lego robotics stuff or just school projects. One of my sons has gone on to be studying to be a mechanical engineer. My youngest boy, really into the design and creating things, and then seeing what he creates turn into reality from a print perspective, right? Which that's
exciting for any age of just having, especially if you make that 3D model and then you have the physical one in your hand. We've talked about that a handful of times. It's always it's an amazing feeling, especially for a kid. That's a motivation beyond any.
Yeah, I mean, it's an eye-opening experience to understand how your children see the world differently than you saw the world, right? And I'll tell just a quick story. I travel a lot for work. I'm a cybersecurity guy by trade. Had my family out in Seattle, and my youngest son at that point was pretty small, and we were in the suite, and I'm hearing him getting frustrated and mad, slamming stuff. And I'm trying to figure out why he's upset, and what he's upset about is that on the TV there's interrupting his program with commercials. And so the fact that I as a kid had to hustle home to get see the latest episode of whatever cartoon I wanted to see. Otherwise, unless I videotaped it, I wasn't seeing it until
you couldn't see it again. Yeah.
And my children have it on demand. So
yeah, it's I've told this story to people in the community before. Is when we bought the house we live in now, when we came to tour it, the basement and everything was finished, but they had a old phone, just a rotary phone. It was plugged into the landline, everything. And my son at that time, I think he was 12, maybe 11 or 12, and he picks it up. And, he knew it was his phone, so he's holding it up. He's like, "What is that noise?" And I'm thinking, holy crap, my kids don't know what a dial tone is. Their cell phones just dial out and send. It's crazy where technologies went.
but just to think that you can now go out to a number of different sites, find pretty much anything that you can think of as a STL, and download it and print it and have it now within really a few hours of time, and whatever you can't find, you can, if you have the talent and the desire, you can learn how to make it and print it and have it right in your home.
Yeah,
Pretty crazy.
Two of my younger children, that's 12 and 10, and they've both messed with Tinkercad. They've both printed out stuff they've designed. My daughter, who's 10, is into it a lot more than my 12-year-old, and she's printing nonstop.
Yeah.
Whether it be stuff for her friends, stuff for her, stuff for cheer. But yeah, she's, like you said, she thinks it's something that she wants. She goes and looks it up, and oh, hey there, or she'll just death scroll through like Maker World and find something like, oh, that's cool, I want to print that. So it is awesome. And like I said, she's the creative type, so she's definitely, I can see her getting into the modeling aspect more, which I can't wait to see how that develops.
Yeah, I mean, my son's car, the seats had a plastic piece on it for the lever, and it had gotten brittle and broke. And my sons went out, found the file, printed in carbon fiber, and had new lever knobs the next day. I mean,
oh yeah, insane.
How our children experience things, compared to what we had to do. Yeah, pretty crazy.
And now, speaking of your kids, are they into the gaming at all, or do they come to the convention, or is it kind of not their thing?
No, I mean, by necessity, they're involved. I mean, I've definitely put them to work over the years. They've gotten older. My youngest now is 12 versus my oldest is 22. So over 20 years of Adepticon, they've sort of grown up with it. So they're expected to be there and help out.
There you go, understandable. Which we're getting close to the end here. So if community, if you guys got any questions for Hank about Adepticon, about miniatures, about whatever you want to know about them, definitely ask here, and then we'll keep an eye on the chat and ask what we can. Let's see here. I'm just making sure I don't miss any. Sometimes people jump ahead of me. From Milwaukee to Toronto in a day. Okay, yeah. So now for of course Chicago to Milwaukee, is that how far of a distance is that of a drive? For those that used to being in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, look, Milwaukee is about an hour and 20 minutes north of Chicago downtown.
Oh, so not bad.
No, I mean, in reality, right? Depending on where you're at in Chicago, it take up to an hour and a half to get downtown. There's a lot of public transportation options. It used to, I'm based in Peoria, Illinois, so it would take me about 2.5 hours to get from Peoria to Schaumburg to the venue, and now it takes me about 3 hours and 15 minutes. So, for a lot of us, it's not that much further.
Oh yeah, and I live in Ohio, so everything's an hour and a half away. Any of the big cities, for me at least. But let's see here. We do have a couple questions. We have Fun Official ask, what is the dog's name?
So the boxer behind me, his name's Jax. He's a rescue boxer. I've had boxers pretty much my entire life. That's been my main dog breed that I've had, and then I sort of inherited. If you've seen the other one, I've sort of inherited the Scotty. That's my first non-boxer I've ever had, and probably my last. That's
the most calm boxer I see. I used to have a boxer myself, and yeah, they have that high energy. It's so fun.
Yeah, he has the high energy, but he likes to. He's had a big crowd here today because we've got a bunch of people here working on getting things ready for the show.
Oh yeah,
got probably 12 people here, so he's been busy. I think he's worn out.
Yeah, lots of pets. Let's say three then ask, hey Hank, what is your favorite minis and what is your scale?
Oh, I mean, I play pretty much. I've been a miniature wargamer over 25 years or whatever it's been. Probably close to 30 years now. I mean, I primarily play 28 millimeter games, but I play them all, everything from 6 mil on up to 54 mil. Um, favorite models and miniatures. I mean, Games Workshop still makes probably the best plastic stuff out there. But I've been playing a lot of. I primarily play a lot of Necromunda these days. I play a lot of skirmish games from a scale perspective. I'm kind of aged out of the big army games. I used to play a lot of Warhammer Ancient Battles. Played a lot of historical stuff. Um,
Across the board. You've been in it long enough. You kind of delved into everything.
I mean, the Star Wars Shatterpoint stuff. If you're looking, if you're into kind of the Star Wars space, Shatterpoint and Legion, Star Wars Legion are great places to hobby.
Awesome. Then we got Bexy Beans asks, what is your personal favorite thing about running a show from one runner to another?
I mean, this may sound cheesy, I guess, but it's really seeing how, thousands of people that are coming to your show are enjoying themselves and having a great time. In particular, I'll get a little teary-eyed when I see, a family with a son or a father with a son that's young, and watch the kids' reactions to seeing things at the show and how much joy that brings them. It
just see their wide eyes when they see something specific, like
and as other showrunners know, like there's times when you just wonder if it's worth it. It gets hard. It takes a lot of time. I have a full-time job outside of this that's an executive role, and
yeah, so it doesn't make it easy to juggle on it. So yeah, it's
juggling family, work, this hobby, and so sometimes it's tough. But at the end of the day, when I'm at the show and I see thousands of people having a great time, that's the best part of it.
Awesome. We have Fun Official asking another question. Is it true that the Adepticon hotel after parties are truly off the rails? Not sure where they're getting their information from, but
I mean, we do a pretty fun after party. Yeah, I mean, most of us are like dead tired and just want to fall asleep on the couch, Sunday night. But we bring everybody together. We have some good food. We have some good drinks. We talk about, all the war stories from the weekend and, the planning for the next year. And some people
usually typically fill up like a hotel lobby and then just stay there all night until everybody starts passing out one by one.
Normally normally it's in like a floor. I typically end up with like the presidential suite and, some connecting rooms, and a lot of the suites are kind of on the same floor. So it's kind of a big floor party.
Right, awesome. And let's see here. We have Fun Official also asking, have you considered making miniature versions of your sons when they leave the house so you can continue to enjoy their company when they're gone? I guess a fair question.
That's a good idea, especially now, with the ability to print, like the droid builders, the scale that you can print now with, and the speed in which you can print now with the thing. It's good. So yeah, that's something that could happen. Sure.
There you go. And then let's see, we'll do one more here. Modesty 541, is Resin Beast happening this year? Resin Beast?
Yeah, so the Resin Beast with Creature Caster, that's happening this year. Yeah. They have their painting competition happening as well. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a number of vendors that have, I encourage people to go out and check out our website and our social media. There's a lot of things going on for sure.
Awesome. Then, like I said, there's one more here. Free Ethan asking, any advice for game makers and model makers?
I mean, I think one of the trends you're seeing now is because of 3D printing, you're seeing a popularity, well, and obviously the internet, but you're seeing a popularity in sort of self-published miniature agnostic games. And so there's a real growth in that area. And I think you're also seeing there's a number of companies and I'll highlight, that are designing miniatures specifically to be printed with filament and FDM. So I think Fat Dragon Games has a Starship Starfleet sort of battle game where they've intentionally designed those miniatures to be accessible to be printed by FDM printers, so that you're not required to get kind of the same detail that you would get out of resin. So making that way more accessible.
It's accessible.
And,
Yep. Oh yeah, especially nowadays, FDM being such the most popular printing, and way less post processing.
yeah, way less less messy, speed. Honestly, a lot more durable for
Yeah.
miniature play when you're talking about that. That's one of the trouble you have with printing resin miniatures is just durability.
Cracking and shattering. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Falling on the floor and breaking. Yeah. All that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, then we'll end that with the community questions, and then I always like to end it with just a handful of fun rapid fire questions. Always start off with the same first two, and the first one being, what is your favorite filament, whether it be a color, a surface effect, or just type? And it doesn't have to be Polymaker. I have to stress that.
Well, I mean, what I would tell you is the Polymaker Pro filament, PLA filament that we've been using. I mean, that's been a godsend, just from reliability of print quality, durability. I mean, when you're making terrain in the quantity that we're making it, having to store it in totes, ship it via semi, so you're storing it in a warehouse that isn't air conditioned. So having a little bit of temperature tolerance, having the durability tolerance. I mean, our tables see thousands of games played, and with the time and effort that we're putting into it, it's pretty crazy. So there you go.
Awesome. Okay, and then second question: what is the 3D print that you're most proud of that you've ever done?
Oh boy.
You've been in a while, so you probably have a lot of prints.
We printed a fire spray in scale for Legion. So that, for anybody who doesn't know, that's Boba Fett's Slave One ship. Yeah. So we printed one of those in Legion scale. We've printed a lot of Star Wars fighters and that kind of stuff. X-wings and TIE fighters and TIE Advance and all kinds of stuff. But that's probably the one I'm most. And we just recently did it. Hopefully, it's going to make the table. We'll see.
Awesome. Well, I'll keep my eyes peeled for it. Next question, which actually off axis asked this in chat too, is since you are a fellow nerd, I always have to ask: Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh boy, I'm really honestly
a fan of both. That's an okay answer.
But I mean, if I had to choose one, probably Star Trek for its social commentary. I would think that that's I enjoy that aspect of Star Trek.
No, that's a very fair answer. And then next question is, what is the largest print that you've ever done? And it can be in pieces too, kind of a full assembly if you need.
Yeah. Well, I printed out some of the droid builder stuff. I'm currently working on a K2SO droid. I've printed it in parts. I'm not completely done with that, but I do have the full pit droid.
Okay, pit droid, yep.
I had a pit droid printed that I like. Haven't gotten it painted up yet, but it's on the list.
There you go. A very long list, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, train wise, we printed some great buildings out of Andor that I've liked. The big bell tower. You remember we've seen where the guy's hitting we have that building printed, which is pretty cool. But non gaming wise, yeah, definitely the droid builder stuff.
The droid, awesome. And then last question: if anyone happens to be in the Milwaukee area next week, whether they're into tabletop gaming or not, and they're just looking for something to do, Is there anything that you can suggest they can go to in Milwaukee next week?
Well, they can come to Adepticon for sure, right? So
There you go.
I mean, it's free to come in and free to walk around, free to shop, free to look.
And that's March 26th through the 30th, correct?
Yeah, correct. We, it's really Wednesday night. We have we open pre-registration, so people that have signed up come in and pick up their stuff. But really, things kick off Thursday, run through Sunday, wrap things up about 4:00.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you very much. Is there any sites, any socials that people can check out what you're doing or follow Adepticon themselves that you can let them know of?
Sure. I mean, our main website is www.adepticon.org, and same thing with Facebook, Adepticon. We have that. Our Discord's really for our staff use at the moment. We're looking to go public with that for 2026. But Facebook and our website. Come check it out.
That'll work. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. I very much look forward to meeting you, shaking your hand in person, and seeing what the Adepticon is all about next week. So thanks again. You have a good night, and I will see you next week.
Sounds good. Looking forward to meeting you in person, and anybody in your audience that might make it to Adepticon, come say hi.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Hank. You have a good night.
Thank you.
There you guys have it. Adepticon, something I wasn't even really aware of until I was brought into the project of coming there and setting up a booth. And I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've never gotten into the tabletop gaming. I knew of it. Like I said, I had friends involved. But Hank's given me some information, before the show through conversation. So I have a much better understanding. Super excited to see this thing. It's big. It's an event. We're not going to be a whole team there as Polymaker. It'll just be, unfortunately, boring myself at a booth. So definitely stop by, say hi. We might have ways to win filament. We like to do things like that. So I'll set up as much as I can on short notice. But that's awesome. Thanks to Hank and his crew. I can't wait to meet them all. They've all been super friendly, super helpful. But there's other projects we have going on too. We have Polymaker figurines led by Anchois Dimensions. And that is across the board on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc. If you like Pokemon, why are you not following him yet? Because he does. Every 2 to 3 days, he does a video release of a new Pokemon. He's on version 2 right now, pretty far through it, where he does multicolor prints of the Pokemon. And he has the whole collection of the first 151 already, all on shelves. Had to buy a whole new shelving system for another wall to put version 2 on. And then once he releases those videos, you can download those files for free on MakerWorld. I think it's under Anchois Figurines. So definitely check them out if you're not already. Show them some love there. If somebody can exclamation point PMF in the chat, that'll give you a link if you need to figure out where he's at. That's where he's at. Go follow him there. We also have up Polymaker Education led by Creatrix Brit. And if somebody wants to do exclamation point PME, you got to remember these. They're not. They're still new. Creatrix Brit actually helped me set the commands up. So there you have it. There is PMF. That's figurines. So it should be PME is the next one. I do have them on cooldown, so you can't do them too often. I'm looking. Sorry, I'm watching chat. But the exclamation point PME for Polymaker Education. Britt does the same setup to where she does videos, and as she does them, the models she uses for education in those videos become available for free to download on MakerWorld. So again, awesome setup there. Free files, you get free cool models. They're doing biomes and all sorts of cool things. So across the board, if you got kids or no kids or any type of association with kids, and some adult stuff too, there's tons of fun stuff to print. So make sure to follow her there, show her support there. And then we also have lastly, exclamation point PML, which is Polymaker Labs. That's led by Sean, and that's over on TikTok. Sean, one of our own employees, is dressed as the scientist, giving fun facts, tips, tricks, and troubleshooting for 3D printing. Fun energy, just fun to watch, but also honestly good information. It's definitely a good place to send people that are new to 3D printing, because there's a lot of stuff that might help them avoid issues they might normally run into, or how to fix them easily if they do happen to run into them. So Lots of theirs, but then we also have exclamation point IPC Imprinting Color Show. That's led by Pezliz over on twitch.tv/Pezliz. That is every Wednesday at said twitch.tv/Pezliz. Make sure somebody's putting it in there. I see I am awesome. I always forget there's a delay. I probably could just type it myself, couldn't I? I need to get it on a shortcut. There we go, IPC. Thank you, Tony, right? So there's the link for that. If you go show her the support, she does some other shows and videos and streams all throughout the week. So just another fun energy that will be at the events. So go give her a high five, give her a like, give her a follow, along with all the other projects. But also type in I am awesome, because we're going to get ready to draw for a spool of filament that can go anywhere across the entire United States. So let's Twitch. While you guys are typing that in for the last chance, we are going to raid out. Hey, there we go. We're going to raid out to Chelsea CCT. It might help if I put it Chelsea CCT. I got to put it in there. This forces me to not ramble on for too long. So we are going to get ready to do the drawing now. So get it in there for 5 seconds. And then I'm going to do the drawing. And then we're going to shoot you over to Chelsea CCT. Make sure she is doing Japanese Jello crystal candies, which actually look really awesome. And I like candy. So I'm going to be interested to go over there to figure out how to make whatever she's making and see if it tastes good. So get that in there. I am awesome. We're going to do the drawing in 3, 2, 1. Boom. And there could be possible language there, so just a heads up if you have any kids watching. Your choice if you want to have them go over there. It doesn't mean there will be cursing, but there could be language, which I'm surprised it didn't tell me. Okay, no, it's intended for mature audiences and follower subscriber chat only. QWERTY Carbon 2, congratulations. If you can type in exclamation point contact, you can either email me at joel.fin@polymaker.com or message me over on Discord at discord.polymaker.com. My name is Polymaker Joel there. Let me know that you won on Meet the Polymaker on 3/20 of 25, and I will be sure to get that filament to you as soon as possible. But that is it for the show. We'll be back next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, as we do every single week, and we'll meet yet another maker. So stay tuned for that. I hope to see you guys then. Thank you for your support. You guys have a wonderful night, a wonderful weekend, and a wonderful week, and we'll catch you next time. See you guys.